Oh, we could have an awful long discussion on squeezing the globe, couldn't we? Yeah, I guess something does have to give. Whoops, David's getting a bit irritated. Was that a irritated noise I heard?
Yes.
The computer. Whoa, Heaven's always a bit grumpy this morning. Well, good morning, everybody. We have started a little early this morning, but should I take time off to go and get a tranquilizer for you, Andy?
Hammer.
A hammer. Okay, a hammer. But good morning, everybody. It is the 8th of May, and this is Patricia and David on Gulf Harbour Radio, where most of our computers are working, except for the one that David is trying to get under control at the moment. We have 15 degrees. Boy, we are getting down 1 degree a day. I hope this trend does not continue. But another glorious day. Clear skies overhead. 1025.5 rising, and about 5 knots of southwest wind. And so we could say the conditions are Kavok. We did a chuckle this morning. We looked at Mesotroy's position report on YIT, and people often give themselves away. He is obviously an ex-pilot, because it's the use of the word Kavok is actually a really good one for weather, because it saves an awful lot of writing. Kavok in aviation meteorological terms, there's 3 main features of it: no clouds less than 5,000 feet, and no cumulonimbus or towering cumulus, and we certainly have those conditions here at Gulf Harbour this morning. Visibility has to be greater than 10 knots, and indeed it is. That's about 6 miles.
10 k's,
10 k's. What did I say? Knots.
Knots.
Oh, well, yeah, it is early in the morning. No current or forecast significant weather. Well, of course, that's in aviation terms, so they look in hours rather than days. So you can't have any, precipitation or thunderstorms or snow drifts or stuff like that. And we're hoping that there's certainly none of that out there in the ocean at the moment. So yes, we definitely, Diego, have pretty similar conditions to what you have at the moment, except up there only 100 miles to go, which is great. 15 knots of east-southeast you have, which is a bit more than what we've got here. And actually, I'll report on a couple of the other folk as well. Frank reported in another adventure, east-southeast 12, so they did get that wind backing for most folk. We'll keep David on another day. 80% cloud cover there though, and a swell of 2 metres, so he's going to probably pop into Anisham, have a bit of a snooze, and move on from there. Pilgrim won't copy us this morning because they only left yesterday. They're at 33 at the moment, having left Okua. But just to let you know, light winds, 60% cloud cover, so it's not Kavok up there. Southeast of less than 5 knots with only a half a metre sea, but it's actually quite nice to leave like that to get your sea legs back again. And way over on the east, 2C2 are heading to French Polynesia. They'll be there, heading to Papeete. They'll be there Thursday New Zealand time, Wednesday their time, and they're having a wonderful sail, hard on the wind, northeast 15 with southwest swell, 2 metres, half a metre waves, and a 1018 rising. I bet they're fishing as well. So, and I think from yesterday I noticed that the couple of boats that had left here, Surreal 2 and Pizzazz, were kind of neck and neck, depending on how much engine they were using. The only ones that aren't all that happy are Bright Angel, but who knows, they might get there before Papeete, before 2C2. All right, a bit of news for the day, not an awful lot actually. Those that are still trying to pay bills before they go, the Kiwi is still hanging steady around the 70 cents mark, so that's pretty good. Boy, the big banks are not going to be very popular today. The 3 big banks here, Westpac, ANZ and BNZ, have all released their half-yearly profits. $500 million each, Westpac and BNZ, and $1 billion for ANZ. And the paper actually said this morning, one lady here sent $100 to her son in Australia, and he ended up with half that. They charged $25 at this end and $25 at the other end. So you can see why we're a little bit hesitant to put a donate button on our website. Now, talking about websites, we probably could do with a bit of a cleanup for you folk that are still around. Quite a few boats have doubled up on their boat registration on yit.nz. So if you could have a look at that before you go, consolidate your information. Like one boat I looked at yesterday had their crew details on one registration and their boat details on another. Try and consolidate all that before you go, please. Just a bit of housekeeping, and get Mike to delete the one that you don't need. Otherwise, it could end up in confusion, people looking at the wrong one. Certainly, if we have cause to look, if something comes up, then we would not necessarily know that there were two there, because when I put the name in, the first one comes up, not the second. So get hold of Mike. His email address is Mike, M-I-K-E, @yit.nz. Just do a bit of housekeeping for us to keep things clean and tidy before we get underway. All right, a bit of other news. There was a very interesting story in the paper on Sunday. It was about the sailing vessel Catarina up there in the Philippines. Catarina is an 18, or was, or still is actually, an 18-meter yacht built by Camper and Nicholson. Lovely looking yacht. It was, in fact, once owned by Walter Cronkite. The story was of a New Zealander. He was actually born here in Rongoparoa. He survived. They ran into a tropical storm after they'd left Davao in the Philippines, and it was a pretty nasty storm, and they started to get water into the boat. It looked like it was coming from a forward thruster that they had actually, the owner, they left Cairns originally, and the owner had put in a thruster. Looked like it was coming in there. Well, they decided to abandon ship, and they all got into a life raft. There were 3 men, 2 dogs, and they had a terrible night. The first night it rolled a couple of times. They lost 1 dog and all their provisions, and then the second night they lost another dog, the remaining dog, and their flares, and they were not very comfortable inside the life raft. Life rafts are actually not designed for comfort. They are designed to save lives. They just were sitting in a lot of water, and then a lot of water with urine in it. So by the time 4 days later they were found by a fishing boat, the Philippines Coast Guard had decided not to go look for them because they were in shark-infested waters and there was a storm going on. So they were, in fact, lucky to be found. But by that stage, the owner was in such a poor state, he subsequently died. So it's kind of a lesson. The picture of the boat was there. It survived the storm, folks. So I think lesson number 1, we all know this, but it's worth repeating, that you always step down into a life raft. Up into the life raft. Sorry, up into the life raft. Boy, I'm having a tough morning this morning, aren't I? You step up into the life raft, although that can be rather difficult in a storm. It's all very well to say it when you're sitting here in tranquil weather, but it can be difficult. But boy, that boat has to be on its last legs before you abandon ship. And the other thing I think is of interest is just to review, while you're sitting waiting to leave, what goes in the grab bag. I know our grab bag, which was just at the bottom of the companionway steps, was such that I could in fact lift it up to the top of the boat. But boy, it's hard to try and fit everything in, isn't it? I always left on top of our grab bag two things: a plastic bag, a big solid garbage bag, all nicely folded, plus a pillow slip. And that was designed to just grab and throw the things in that you needed at the last minute. Because there are some things that people don't say to put in a grab bag, but are in fact more than useful. And if you think back to these people sitting in urine water, for 4 days, it would be good to have the Lady Jane, for example, in the grab bag, and also, what do you call the one that the men pee into? It's got a cap on the top of it. Whatever it is, you know what it is. Because, when it comes to things like that, you do want to keep them out of the water, and you do need to keep that, especially in rough weather, you need to keep that life raft sealed up. So you do need to be able to dispose of bodily waste in an appropriate way, and that includes what comes out the mouth as well, because you will be sick. So, just think of some of the things that will make life comfortable and hygienic in your grab bag, and make sure that those sorts of things are in there, as well as all the other things that they say to put in, like the bags of water and the fishing lines and all the sorts of things that they think you're just going to be meandering out in the ocean waiting for help to arrive. Which, of course, in this part of the country, it's not going to take too long. And that gets back to what we were talking about yesterday. Please make sure that everybody on board knows how to use the radio or use the sat phone, whatever the case may be, and make sure that the sat phone is pre-programmed with the RCC telephone number and the New Zealand Maritime Radio telephone number. Those numbers are on that one sheet I talked about yesterday that are on our website, www.ghradio.co.nz. Go to the radio and communications section, download that one page, put it in plastic, and make sure people know how to get hold of people in an emergency. You don't have time to think. You just need to act quite quickly. So make sure that those numbers are pre-programmed into your sat phone if you've got them. All right, is there anybody wanting to make contact with Gulf Harbour Radio? Well, there is a quiet voice there, and I should be able to work it out because I think I'll recognise it. Could you try again, and I might need a relay? Oh, goodness gracious me, we're getting right through to Bora Bora, and I've got ocean something, but I didn't get the rest, but I've now remembered to put my extra filter on, so go ahead, over. All right, could you just tell me how far west you are of Bora Bora, over? Did you get that?
No.
No, we're not quite getting that. I wonder if anybody can let us know, because we'll make sure David covers the area in the weather roundup shortly. Could anyone tell me just exactly where he is, over? Outside. Go ahead, and good morning to you guys.
Good morning,
600 miles from Bora Bora, and which side? Is he coming from this side or the other side, over?
That position would be a little more useful. That's 10 degrees.
Yeah, stand by, outsider. I think we've got Messatroy there. Was that you, Diego? Ah, okay. So he's just east of Suvorov. Thank you very much. We got there. And, yeah, good to know that we're getting out. But, yeah, we've got somewhat more power going out from here than you guys have got. But it's not too bad of conditions, really. And thank you for the relay help. What we'll do now, as per usual, is head off to the roundup of the weather, and then David can have a look at that when he's finished. Here's David. Don't worry.
Well, all right. Good morning, everybody. I thought we'd first look at the jet stream this morning. It's moving quite fast, west to east, right along about 25 south. Now, there is a jet streak within it. Now, the polar exit of that streak, and remember that's an area of upflow, that's right over a 500 millibar shortwave, which in turn is over and supports our old depression. And that's located near 30 and 160 west, 30 and 160 west. Now, from this low, a trough runs northwest, pretty much over the southern Cooks, goes on to Wallace, similar to yesterday, on to Tuvalu, and then on to the Solomons. Now, our anticyclone, or high, if you will, has moved east a wee bit. Central pressure, well, she's a strong one, around 1030 millibar, 1030. And it lies nearly over the North Island, not quite over it, but close. Between New Zealand and the islands, you're going to encounter, if you're on the way, a weak and rather broken quasi-stationary front. Now, this will make nighttime sailing a bit lively with the scattered squalls. You could have squalls during the day as well with this system, but more so in the evening. Now, by Wednesday, the high is going to be over New Zealand and a little bit stronger as well. We're looking at about 1032 millibar, 1032. Now, this will have the effect of providing quite fresh winds further north, and that's going to allow your yacht to move along rather smartly. You'll get full speed out of it with no problem at all if you want to. Now, by Thursday, that would be what, the 10th of May, the depression that is off Sydney that we were talking about, I've been warning about this now for a few days, it starts to push into the high that's over New Zealand. Now, the high is still going to be over the country, New Zealand, but the isobars on the west side are being distorted. So headwinds are going to start to develop, and they're going to affect certainly the passage to New Caledonia and eventually Vanuatu and so forth. Now, by late Saturday into Sunday, this coming weekend, a cold front does affect New Zealand, and it will extend to just west of New Cal. It goes on to the Coral Sea from there. Now, those of you that are on your way to Fiji need to be north of about 20 south to avoid northeast winds. So this is pretty much the weekend that I'm talking about. Going to Tonga still is looking pretty good as well. North of 25 south, I think you need to be on that date, and you should be in pretty good shape. Actually, the latest runs early this morning show Fiji, both Fiji and Tonga, pretty good from a wind direction standpoint from 22 south to the islands. Now, as far as this goes out as far as Tuesday the 15th, I believe that is, Tuesday the 15th. At that time, though, the New Zealand cold front will reach New Caledonia. So hopefully everyone who was heading there is tucked in at that point. You should be. We'll take a look now at satellite imagery that I pulled down. I pulled the loops in the morning. The trough that I mentioned earlier still affects the southern Cooks and right over Samoa as well, and again Wallace. Now another trough runs from the Solomons over to Tuvalu and then Tokelau and then on to the northern Cooks. And I hope this year is not going to be like last season. If you'll remember, the poor old northern Cooks seemed to be trough bound the whole year, the whole season. It was rather depressing to have to announce that virtually every day, it seems. The cruising route now has bands of cloud. Now, these are all within the high. And this gets rather confusing to people who are coming from the northern hemisphere because usually up there, when you have a big high, the skies are nice and sunny and you don't see very many clouds at all. But that's not true here in the Southwest Pacific. It's very, very common to have troughs and even remnants of a cold front within a high down here. And that's what's happening now. We've got bands of cloud. They essentially are moving south to north. If you're laying on the deck and just looking up, you'll see the movement of them in that direction. In between, nice blue skies, but otherwise, though, after you are done with your suntan, watch out for squalls as the next band comes through. In fact, there's a rather wet band that's moving. This one's actually moving west to east over NewCal. This area of convective activity is pretty big. It runs from NewCal down to about 26 south, west of 170, west of really 165. Now, another active area is off the coast of Australia, and this one runs from 24 south down to 33 south, and then extends into the Tasman Sea, and it goes as far as 160 east. So that's actually the beginning of another depression that's going to form there. Moving over to the Tonga area briefly on imagery early this morning, it shows cloud bands affecting Tongatapu. This band goes all the way over to Fiji as well. So out of this, expect scattered showers from these clouds. The Hapai's and Vivado, they look pretty good. They're scattered cloud about, but the heavier cloud bands, at least on this morning's loop, were to the south. So that's good news. Winds in general for Tonga should be south-southeast, 10 to 15. They'll increase a little bit as the day wears on, and that's typical up in the islands. The afternoon winds pick up, as you all know, that have been up there before. Fiji, apart from that cloud band I just mentioned, they'll turn out to have a pretty decent day. Expect the usual showers over the big islands and typical tropical afternoon showers about the group in the open water. Again, that's normal as well when you're in the tropics. The trough, that was over Rotuma. That's lifted north so that the weather has improved for Rotuma. But for main Fiji, I see winds to be southeast, 15 to 20 pretty much in open waters. I think they'll pick up again this afternoon to become rather fresh, probably in the 20 knot category. We should see southeast to east-southeast winds actually right through the weekend. Moderate to fresh to moderate to fresh, etc., etc. Sort of like a yo-yo. It goes up and down on the winds. And of course, due to the fact that we've got a strong high that's down in the New Zealand area, the outer limits of these highs are producing the stronger winds. And since isobars are not linear, that's the reason for the wind to go up and down, up and down. Vanuatu winds by lunch today should be fresh as well. I would expect east-southeast about 20 knots out in the open water, and about the same thing tomorrow, although the northern group may see a little bit more air. I'll call it 20 to 25 knots east-southeast up there. NewCal winds look to be easterlies and quite fresh in the open lagoon. We'll call it 20 knots. This should continue all day into tomorrow. Although Wednesday they should be backing a wee bit. We'll call it east to east northeast. So there we have it. It's as that high is slowly moving east, those isobars are bending, and then remember they're going to get that low pushing into them. So that's going to distort the isobars even more. And of course, it's going to be pretty choppy out there for the lovely eels in the outer lagoon. So if you were planning on going out and having a nice day, well, it's doable, but it gets a bit choppy and a little uncomfortable. Even though you do have protection, you get a lot of wraparound and it gets a bit bouncy, and visibility gets cut down a little bit too if you're snorkeling. But yeah, in fact, 20 knots for the outer lagoon is probably you should think about doing other things. That's all I've got for today. That yacht that's west of Bora Bora, I actually need a lat long if I'm going to give any kind of weather, but I can tell you that there is a stationary front, quasi-stationary front, that runs from pretty much Rapa right through Rarotonga, and that's the one that goes on to Samoa from there. Now the Tahiti, French Polynesia area today is all northeast winds. South of Tahiti, they're northerly winds. So 2C2 coming from Riva Bay going north, I'm afraid winds are going to be on the old nose. Not very strong, which is good news. They'll be in the 10 knot range, maybe 10 to 15 in the afternoon. These are mean winds. When I give winds, they are mean winds. So in other words, the old rule of thumb, I probably should have covered that at the beginning of our season. For the old hands, they all know about this. For the new people, maybe not so sure. But if we're talking, say, about 15 knots, give it a 5 knot band on either side. In fact, any number that I give you, 15 knots, 20 knots, give it 5 knots on either side, and that'll take into account the irregularity of the isobars. And gusts are going to be up to 50% higher. So whatever number I give you, add 50% to that. And these gusts are coming from above. Even on a cloudless day, you'll have an inversion generally, particularly if you have a big high. And air, of course, being warm, the water is going to rise. It'll hit the inversion, spread out, and a lot of that wind will come down. And when it comes down, that is the reason for the gust. And yeah, if you've got a light air sail out and you're not expecting that, that could stretch the cloth a little bit. That's all I've got. Any comments, complaints? No complaints. Here's the boss.
Well, you have actually got a question, and that's the next window to Fiji because of visa problems here. I'll pass the microphone to you at the moment to see.
I'll give that tomorrow.
You'll give that tomorrow. All right, so we'll talk about the next window tomorrow. We've got, actually, there's a fair bit of wind up there in Fiji. A report from Shainu. Good morning, Jonathan Donna. They're en route to the Asawas with Rouser and Halo, and they have got southeast 20 at the moment. 50% cloud cover, a short southeast swell, 1.5 meters, and a rising bar, and that's at 1620 and 177, almost east. So plenty of wind to get those boats to the Asawas. And Whistler, they're up there at Savu. Say good morning to Curly for us, if you wouldn't mind, Margie and Monty. They've got it calm in the bay, of course, 40% cloud cover and a bar of 1015. And they're stocking up on curly lures, as you do when you are in Savu. So they had a few showers last night, but generally it's not so bad this morning. All right, and everybody else is a couple of the other boats are getting in, so that sounds pretty good. And yes, David will cover exit to Fiji and Vanuatu tomorrow, so listen out for that. So is there anybody with anything else in Radio Land? Please call. I've got one person there, but I missed your boat name, but a very loud signal. Go ahead.
Yes, this is First Light, over.
Oh, First Light, good morning. Where are you?
Yes, hi, we're headed on our way to Vanuatu. Our lat long is 25, 20,
Yeah, all right. Just Foka, this is not just for you, it's for everybody. Forget about the decimal points because you're moving and they will change rapidly, and we certainly can't go to decimal points on looking at the weather. So I've got 25 and I think 24 south and 17606 east. Was that correct?
Just close, it was 2520 and south 17206 east.
172. Sorry. 17. I'll better start again. Okay, go ahead.
No, thank you. But I also wanted to see if another adventure was on the net. Maybe we can connect after. Over.
Yep, certainly. I think Frank normally listens. Frank, who is at 2428 south, and this was about 45 minutes ago, and he's at 17055 east. Frank, could you just give me a Roger if you're there, and stay on after we've finished talking to First Light. Another adventure. Are you listening?
Yeah, that's a Roger.
Okay, right. He's certainly there. So First Light, go ahead. I think, yep, First Light, if you could just tell me what your wind conditions, I think you're probably much the same with an east-southeast, and then I'm going to close the net and leave you in touch with Frank. Is that what you needed? Over?
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Over.
Okay, and pretty good signal, although there's a little bit of clipping on it, which made it a little difficult for me. All right, we're going to vacate the net, folks, and leave it with First Light and another adventure. And we will be back again tomorrow with a more extensive update on when you are going to leave this chilly country of ours. So cheers, everybody. The frequency is over to Frank and First Light. Back tomorrow.
Another adventure. This is Slow Flight. Over. Yes, Roger, Slow Flight. You have another adventure. How are you guys doing over there? Over.
Slow Flight.
Doing great. I don't know if you can hear me okay. You come to blow over our speaker. Over. Yeah. Okay. Over. I can hear you. It's just a little foggy. So if I ask you